Okay.
Hello, hello, good morning. I think we're live already.
Morning
The
in the
first
morning.
people joining. Good morning, Christian. How are you?
I'm okay. Getting rid of my cold, so happy that we do a webinar with a lot of distance, so no one will be infected by my dripping nose.
Perfect. Be that you're happy and that you're getting better. We'll give it a minute or so as still people are joining. Make yourself comfortable, grab a coffee or a tea in Christian's case, which might help for the health. And then while we wait, feel free to drop in the chat where you're calling from because we have people joining all over the world. But first of all, a bit of housekeeping. Like I mentioned, we have quite some people, but also people in different time zones. And also, it's the end of September, so usually a very busy period. But that's why we always will be sharing the content afterwards. So you will get the recording automatically in your mailbox if you are registered, and we are happy to share the slides upon request. Just a quick email, and we're happy to share some best practices and use cases that we will presenting later today. If you have questions, there is actually a function in this platform where you can drop them in the chat, and they will be handled afterwards. We have people from Spain and Bruges, Brussels, of course, capital the capital of Europe. And then when people are joining, quite some people are joining already, we can go over the agenda of today. So first things first, we will be talking about, Christian, maybe next slides.
Yes.
First things first, there will be a very short introduction of Elimity. We have quite some new faces today as well, so companies that haven't heard probably of Elimity. So we will start with a quick introduction, and then afterwards, the title of the webinar is indeed a fast track to compliance and control of your users and accesses. So we'll dive into identity and access management and what it means to be compliance. And then we're thinking of the ISO certifications, but also the NIS2 and much more. And then afterwards, we will be sharing a bit of best practices. We will be sharing how you can take control of user access within days. So we're against very long implementation cycles, and we think European organizations need to take control of user access in a short amount of time. And then afterwards, there will be a Q&A. I think we covered everything. I see people are joining, so I think we can get started. Christian, Christian, you can maybe start with a very quick introduction from your side as well, because I forgot to introduce you. Okay?
Yes, indeed. So also a really good morning from my side. I'm Christian, leading the sales at Elimity, but used to be a CISO myself. So been dealing with those kind of challenges we present and we help companies every day with directly myself. Just shortly for the ones that are joining the first time to one of our sessions, who is Elimity, when you didn't looked it up before. Elimity is a Belgium-based and Belgium-founded cybersecurity company. We are a fully European company. Investors are European. All our team is based in Europe. We are supported by a couple of really nice investors. And indeed, the solution he already gave you a glimpse of that is designed with the European regulations and compliance in mind. Nowadays, I think we can almost update the number again to a significant higher number. We are managing around about 1 million accounts across all our different environments, all our different customers, and of course, at the moment, we are mainly active also in Central Europe, which means that the Benelux region, the German-speaking countries, as well as the cold north. And I don't see someone. Normally, we always have some fans from the cold north calling in. Either they are hiding or they are not there today. But that's Elimity in a nutshell. So let's go on. The title of the webinar is about the compliancy part. So we will take a glimpse or a step back. NIS2 is something we have in Belgium that is, we are a bit front runner in Europe, which is, I think, a really good thing on the one hand side. But on the other hand side, of course, we see plenty of companies now getting busy because I think the final deadline in order to get there is April 2027, I heard yesterday. And of course, as you all know, there is plenty of stuff that needs to be tackled from a compliancy point of view. And identity and access management is one part of it. But something that we saw there is that there are certain things that are pretty easy, right? Having an antivirus installed, that's a rather technical thing. And when it comes to identity and access management and all the processes and all the controls around it, there are a lot of companies, even though if they might have a really mature or really immature identity and access management environment, they really struggle with showing that they are compliant. And why that's the case and how that works, there we will zoom in that session. Because when we look at that, there are so many, we call them identity data questions. Identity data questions in the context of, are we compliant or are we secure, right? So they're always the views from a security and compliancy point of view, and those are then the ones that we see from really an NIS2 perspective, or also from an ISO 27001 perspective. It's about to make sure that there is no one having access anymore to file shares or SharePoint sites when they're retired, or when people are not in the company anymore. Are there orphaned accounts? Who has are people that have too much access over time? Those are also things, of course, a security responsible within the organization will ask and will want to know. But of course, they are going hand in hand with the things that we need to know in order to be compliant. And the same for compliancy, right? For internal compliance, but also external compliance. I cannot share too much yet, but we had one of our dear customers who bought Elimity a while ago. They just got ISO compliant. We heard it yesterday. Made us really proud, and Elimity played a crucial part in order to answer all those kind of questions, right? And then, of course, when we have security and compliance checked, there are also those people in the environment that want to improve your identity and access management environment from a role mining point of view, from a data quality point of view, or also from a reporting kind of point of view. So those are again typical things we call that are asked by identity and access management experts within the environment, or just general IT experts. So where do we then help with, or where come Elimity in place? We need to have kind of provable control on who can access what, right? So because plenty of things when you look to in your environment, you will already do in the right way today. But to have the provable control over it, really knowing if there are still levers that are having an account somewhere laying around, who has access to privacy sensitive data, also related to a bit to what kind of business you are in today, or the people, and that's something that we see a lot as a huge security risk. People that are joined the company 5, 10, 50, 25 years ago, really someone that is really loyal to the company, made their career, started as an intern, and build a career and grow to the organization and become whatever director of finance. They typically collect privileges. So they might not have a privileged account by itself, but the combination of all those kind of things make it a challenge, right? And we of course have all the kind of part of segregation of duties, and of course the technical accounts that you have to have under control. Moving on, and by the way, if there's something where you say I have a question or I want to zoom into it, of course there's the Q&A, but if there's something really urgent, don't hesitate and just drop something in the chat. So the question is, how do we do that? And there we introduce the concept of identity, visibility, and intelligence. I would not say that we introduced it ourselves. The category was founded, as you see down on the left, by Gartner this summer, but basically describes exactly what we're doing, right? So the concept basically is that you have several operational sources within your environment. That can be your Active Directory, your ERP system, your HR system, SharePoint, Windows file shares, all those different sources that there are, and all those different sources, there is certain identity and access management data. It can also be an access management system, like for instance, ping identity or whatever. And you connect to those, and we pull the data in our, call it identity data graph. What does it mean? Identity data naturally is a graph. What does that mean? It's not a relational data. It is the way that I am I am Christian, I am having my user in the HR system. The user in the HR system is connecting to a user in Active Directory. The user in Active Directory is part of several groups. Those groups point to several different different files and folders, or these are several different users than in SharePoint, and so on. So when you connect all the dots, it really becomes a graph, and can become quite complex. So that's hence the graph. And once you have that, we really are able to create that kind of 360 view. 360 view, what does that mean? Really looking up, okay, where has Christian all access to, and we are able to see that. And with that, we are able to do several things, right? Far and foremost, to start with risk analysis, cleanup phase, putting governance processes in place, especially regarding recertification, which is a really important one for the compliance part. Empowering identity professionals to have the insights they need, like I said, role mining, those kind of things. And of course, what we also see here, identity and access management for AI. So that's also one we see popping up more and more. I give you some maybe extreme examples, but examples that we came across with plenty of companies we're talking to, is activating an ChatGPT enterprise or a Copilot. So basically, AI agents within your environment. What do they do? From a Copilot point of view, Copilot looks at, okay, where has the user, so where has Christian all access to within SharePoint and within Entra ID. And when you have some nesting going on there, or something that was not cleaned up in the past, it might be that I'm actually having access to information that is not supposed to be for me. One of the examples we saw, there was a company that activated that, and just for fun, someone in IT was looking, actually, I'm curious, my colleague is since 2 months sick. Dear Copilot, can you tell me why? And Copilot told that person why, because there was some nesting going on the backend side. So the person didn't know he had access to it, but the AI had. So it was leaking highly confidential information, and those are kind of things you don't want to have. So before doing that, it's important to know who has access to indeed critical files, critical shares, and all those kind of things. So let's go a level deeper. What is the platform then actually doing, or how is it helping, right? So on the left-hand side, what we see there is, let's imagine that's your environment. So you have Active Directory, you have HR systems, some cloud stuff, SaaS, databases, on-premise stuff. You might have or have not already an identity management system like a SailPoint or Omada or One Identity. Not necessary, but we have customers that have that already and still lacking those insights. So you connect to the data, pull data into the platform. There the data gets correlated, and all those risks regarding KPIs that need to be checked for the ISO or for the NIS2 will be checked. Once we find certain things in there, let's say we find something that is not supposed to be there, something that evaluates the rules of an ISO, for instance, you can create a change that needs to be done. This will be then sent towards the ticket system, and of course you have the possibility to monitor, track alerts, and of course, last but not least, extremely important, having those access reviews, right? Sending out recertification campaigns from really easy to extreme complex, and I always advise here the experience shows to go as easy as possible in the beginning, to not smack down the people with access reviews that don't understand, but with easy questions like, are those 5 people we see here, dear manager, still the right 5 people in your team? That's something every manager can answer easily, and will make them understand that access reviews are not painful, that they're easy to do, and then you gradually increase the complexity. So let's come to a really important topic, especially for all the ones that standing at the beginning. Let's say, if you say, okay, we want to make, we have already Active Directory, we maybe have an access management tool in place, but now we really want to make steps into the part of governance. We want to get ISO compliant. We want to get NIS2 compliant. Then we always nowadays, as it's something, it's all about the data, right? So no matter where and no matter in what kind of context, if it's about artificial intelligence, is it about something new? Is it about market placement? Nowadays, everything is about the context of data. So why not in identity and access management as well? And that's exactly what we preach since years. So the idea is really to start risk-driven first, connect to all the data, see if you have identity and access risks in your environment. Are there still people that have access they're not supposed to have on, and so on? And it's also things that would fall on your feet when you would get an audit for an ISO, for an NIS2, or any other auditor, DORA as well. So we have also, I think, some financial players here today. So really starting there and identifying those risks, and then immediately cleaning them up, reviewing them, looking where violations are, getting notified if there are new ones, all those kind of things. And when you have those steps done from a compliancy point of view and from a security point of view, you already tick all the necessary boxes, right? Once you're there, then it's about setting up the governance model, right? Introducing the reviews, designing role models, policies, and all those kind of things. And from them, taking it gradually towards more the operational efficiency side of things. So we were talking a lot about the security controls and all those kind of things, and controls that come with the platform. But there is also, I think, Gil, maybe we dropped that in the chat, an extremely nice white paper on KPI-driven identity and access management. And basically, what has our team of really competent researchers done? They analyzed all those different, let's say, compliancy framework, right? Like a NIS2, like an ISO, like a SOX, GDPR. And when you look at what are or would have all those regulations in common, they ask certain minimum quality checks on identity and access management. But when you boil it down, it always comes down to those 8 categories, right? So orphaned accounts, people that are not supposed to have access anymore from internal people, but can also be external consultants that still have access to some SharePoint or team sites. Privileged accounts, who has all privileges, are those accounts tracked and managed and reduced, who collected too much access over time. We have identity hygiene, we have role hygiene, we have data quality, of course, segregation of duties. For all that are not familiar with that term, that means that you are not allowed to approve something and do something. So in payment terms, you're not allowed to approve an invoice and pay an invoice to make sure that there is a 4I principle. It can be the same for an IT environment where someone is allowed to make a change request for production, but not actually pushing a change to production, those kind of things. And of course, we have a lot of different customers, a lot of different businesses, from HR services to banks to logistic companies. There will always be some business-specific policies that are required for your business, and then they, of course, also need to be tracked and followed up. All the details, like I said, you will find there in the link. He'll just posted it in the chat, so feel free to download it to have more insights on that. And yeah, it's one of our most downloaded white papers, and we sometimes come in calls with new customers. Yeah, actually, we already start manually managing our identity and access management according to those KPIs, which is making us really proud. So something I can personally really well recommend. And of course, always when you are a regular visitor, what we like to do is giving you an idea of a real use case, right? Of course, we are in the security business, and this confidentiality is a really important one. So we're not allowed to share the name of the customer. But what we have here was a mid-sized bank. They're still a happy customer, and the challenge was they have a really complex IT environment. They have a small security team, and the problem was there was manual reporting, extremely time-consuming visibility for the identity and access management risks, and of course also access reviews, doing them, that took them a lot of time, manually collecting data and all those kind of things. So what was the approach there? Really setting up fast the data foundation. I think the scope was Active Directory, Entra ID, SharePoint, file share. So really classic scope, also really interesting scope, especially as you have with SharePoint and file shares some unstructured data with it. And we applied that framework that we just talked intensively about it, and then indeed identified and prioritized risks, mapped them on a matrix, and then we're able to get rid of a lot of things that were dark red, as we say. So that was a really nice account, and I think that timing-wise, that was something that was done in, I think, 8 weeks max. That kind of full project, and of course they keep on measuring, they keep on controlling, and keep on improving their environment still today. Another nice one is here. Once we had with the insurance player there, it was the DORA, and of course especially when you want to go towards a more compliance driven environment, the kind of process you build around it becomes also more important, right? So of course it needs to be done, but it also needs to be a continuous control and a continuous process that you can also show an auditor over time. Same as if you would go for an ISO certification, you have the initial audit, then you have those kind of mock audits in between before you have a big audit again. But if you can show the continuous control, the measurement, then you really show that you have things in order, and that's basically what they've done here. And basically providing, collecting the data, making the data understandable, continuously reviewing the data, act on that if there is something need to change, and of course continuously monitoring in order to stay in control. Indeed, I think that are all things. So I'll go a bit back. Yes. So maybe just as we are like approaching the last third of the webinar, and always nice to show a bit how the platform looks like, to give you a look and feel. I won't be able to give a live demo today, but if you're interested in having a live demo, then feel free to reach out, and I'll take time to walk you to the platform. But just to give you a bit of an idea on look and feel, right? So what you see here on the left-hand side, those are the security controls, also were classified regarding the different categories and how high the risks is. So we see here, for instance, 80 admins that are not linked to inactive employees, or someone who hasn't logged in into 6 months. So all indications of cleaning up things, or all indications that should be on that. Same here, there's a nice dashboard. Dashboard is something that you can configure yourself, so a really easy way to do that. And of course, I think that is also something we haven't touched upon so far, but also a really powerful one when it's about cleaning up and also about role mining, is having an easy and fast overview on the people in the organization and the access they're having, mapping that on an access grid, right? So a typical grid view you see here, that you see a lot, that's also comes in extremely handy. Yes, and then here a nice overview. So we talked about the 360 view a lot. What does that 360 view mean? So here we have Stefan. He has Active Directory user, no groups, file shares, a principal, so many permissions, some data over here. So really a nice way to do those kind of things. All right, looking a bit at the time. So when I always wanted to become a teacher, so this is always my personal highlight of those webinars, giving homework, no, jokes aside. So I think whether or not you want to improve your identity and access management compliancy, I think if you want to do that, you are here. There are certain things I would definitely recommend doing, whether or not you do that with Elimity or any other way. Sometimes you might be small enough that it is manually the case. We had a customer yesterday we talked with, and there we came out to say, okay, this is really nice, but that might be too heavy for organization of, I think they were with 30 people. There you can do that maybe with Excel, but still apply the same concepts, right? So you apply the same concept with performing risk analysis. So where are the most important assets and sources? Where are they located? Collect the data from those systems, then indeed apply those security controls and act, of course, upon those risks and measure them over time. So don't do that as a one-time operation, do it on a regular, best, of course, a daily basis. But if you do it manually, that might be not feasible, but on a regular level in order to stay compliant. All right, perfect. I think we are 25 minutes in, and Gil, I hand over to you to ask our dear audience for some questions.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Christian. And although we spent quite some time together, I had no idea you wanted to be a teacher, but this is explaining quite a lot. But thanks for a clear overview. I think it was clear how you connect with the sources, how you create visibility, and how you monitor afterwards. But we do have a few questions in the private chats. First of all, it's about the solution itself and the deployments. So, which deployments do we support, Christian?
Really good question. So we support several ways of deployment, right? I always categorize in two main categories, and then there's some subcategories. But easy answer, we support SaaS, so you can consume Elimity as a SaaS subscription, as well as self-hosted. And self-hosted means you can host it in the way you prefer to. Most of the customer choose for their own AWS, their own Azure tenant. But you could also, if you want to, have it on your own really on-premise server in your environment. So up to the customer.
Yeah, perfect. And then we have one additional question. I think we mentioned the lightweight thing, having control of users and access in a very lightweight fashion, so lightweight identity governance. So why do you also integrate with these IGA solutions that you showed in the picture? I'm thinking about Omada, SailPoint,
Yes,
those types of solutions. And I think we can refer to the IVIP as well here.
indeed. So you can, let's say, yeah, so you don't have to have such a tool in your environment. Actually, quite the opposite, depending on where you stand for. I would always recommend to start with an IVIP solution first to get the visibility, to clean the kind of things up. You remember the maturity model I was talking about. Why does it make sense to connect to those? Well, there are so many reasons to do that, and plenty of our customers do. We have customers that start with Elimity and they buy one of those solutions later on, but Elimity stays for one simple reason. Those tools are workflow engines for identity and access management, doing automated join and believer processes, but are not analytics tools that give you that kind of deep analysis and deep possibilities in order to see what is going on in your environment. And also there you're going to create some roles, you're going to create some profiles you want to have and you want to design, but you also want to make sure that those are actually used within the source systems. And that's something we're able to do and able to report upon. So it's not an either that or that story. It's usually an end-to-end story at the end of the day. Yeah? But we also have customers that say, okay, actually compliance and security is the most important for us. And if we have that with Elimity, we are good. We don't necessarily need to go further in the maturity process.
Yeah, okay, cool. Very clear answer, Christian. I think that was it for today. We don't have more questions at the moment, so there's no need to consume your time more. I hope it was super valuable, but I think it was very relevant. So thank you very much, Christian Bartels. And I think in a few weeks we will have another session. It will be another topic. I think the topic in the next session will be more about implementing Elimity or an identity visibility solutions before you let out the AI machine in your company running. So we're thinking about Copilot, making sure you control user access before people can be using Copilot. So that will be the topic of next month. You will be all receiving an invite, of course. If you need the slides, feel free to reach out, and we are happy to share them with you. But thank you very much for sharing your morning with us, and good luck today. See you. Bye, Christian.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.